Hi, it's Mike Leahy with our first chat show, SwanTV. Thank you for joining us. You know we are the online local television station. And with me today I have guests Paul Evans, Ashton Williams and Captain Beany. So let's talk about Swansea. And first of all, I want to talk to Paul about safety in Swansea. Paul is the Community Safety Coordinator. So he's obviously working with many of the agencies in and around Swansea. Tell us a little bit about those agencies, Paul.
We're a partnership called Safer Swansea. Now, as it says on the tin, it's all about keeping Swansea as safe as possible. Unfortunately, we're always going to have an element of crime. I think every town and city in the world has got an element of crime. But in general, I'm confident enough to say that Swansea is a safe place to live compared to other towns and cities of a similar size. So Safer Swansea is all those partnership agencies that deal with crime, criminal damage, antisocial behaviour, arson, etc. So some of the major players within the partnership are obviously South Wales Police, Swansea Council, Probation Service, Prison Service, Fire Service, Youth Service. In total, I think there's 72 partners that make up Safer Swansea. And we sit round the table, we look at the issues affecting Swansea, we look at the crime stats. Everything we do is intelligence-led. We don't put things in place on a whim. We need to justify where we're putting resources, where we're spending the public purse. And as I said, I'd like to think that we have got a safe environment. Crime does happen, unfortunately. We try to reduce those levels of crime as much as possible. So we're always working with local communities to make it safer. There's not one single answer for reducing crime. It's a multitude of all different types of measures that we like to put in place.
Okay, and Neighbourhood Watch. I think we should just briefly mention that's something that's very important within the community.
Yeah, Neighbourhood Watch plays an important role, and it's one of those many measures. Standalone, it probably wouldn't work, but it's certainly a tool that we tend to use. Neighbourhood Watch, again, is very effective, and it's basically the public reducing the opportunity for crime. So a Neighbourhood Watch group can take many different forms and guises. It could be 3 or 4 residents, or it could be 30, 40, 60 residents. Some of them meet weekly, some of them might not meet at all in person, and it might be a WhatsApp group or a Facebook group. But the concept is about keeping community safe. So if you see an individual acting suspicious, if you see an unusual vehicle, or anything that triggers that's not quite right, we encourage the community to report it. Now, obviously, if it's an emergency, if a crime is taking place, we all know the number, it's 999. But there's 101 as well. Now, 101 is for non-emergencies. So if you see an individual acting suspicious, perhaps looking over garden fences or looking into vehicles or just loitering with intent, they might not have committed a crime, but something triggers, I don't like what's taking place here. Now, it might be genuine. It might be somebody that's lost a cat or a dog and they're looking for it. Fine. But if something doesn't look right, report it. Because that individual might be on the run from the police. They might be a known criminal. They might have a banning order from that area. We don't know, but the police will know. So it's important that the public are the eyes and ears. Doing the job I do it all the time. If somebody's acting suspicious, everybody now is carrying a phone. Before, and going back to perhaps the 80s, the 90s, if you saw something, you'd have to go back to the house, ring it in, or find a phone box that worked. And now it's instant, because most of us carry a mobile phone. It's 101, yes, I'm in the park, somebody's being a nuisance, or somebody spraying graffiti on the bowl set, or whatever it is. It may even be dog fouling. It could be as minor or as major as somebody being assaulted. Ring it in, and the police have got those stats. Because as I said, It forms part of the bigger picture. So if anybody is interested in setting up a neighbourhood watch group, they can do it to suit their own needs and means. So if you contact, say for Swansea, we've got a Facebook site, we're on Instagram, we're on Twitter, we've also got a website, we're on the council site as well. Get in touch, we will help you to set up a neighbourhood watch group.
That sounds incredible. I was out with Captain Beany yesterday.
Yeah.
And we weren't very safe, were we?
Yeah.
We were attacked by several people who wanted Captain Beany. But we'll come on to that in a
I
second.
don't know why.
And while I've got Paul here, just tell me about the purple flag. And that's coming up now for renewal, I think, isn't it?
Yes, Purple Flag is an accreditation for our evening and nighttime economy. Now, our evening and nighttime economy in Swansea is very condensed. It's basically the lower end of Wine Street. You go to other towns like Cardiff and Bristol where it's spread out over a huge area. Our nighttime economy is very compact, very condensed. So all of the resources to make it a safe night go into that area. So very similar to the blue flag for your beaches, the water quality, the safety standards. The green flag for your parks, it's a standard. We're only one of 2 cities in Wales to actually have purple flag for our nighttime economy. So what that means is that it's a safe environment. Our nighttime economy, there's so many resources going into it to make it safe. We've had the award.
And that's coming up for renewal in a couple of weeks.
End of this month now. Every 2 years, we have external assessors coming into Swansea and they find out that we're doing what we're saying we're doing. So, for example, you've got training of door staff, training of bar staff. We've got a triage, a help point with St. John's. We've got CCTV, we've got street pastors, we've got taxi. The list goes on and on. And our nighttime economy suffers from a negative press because the capacity of Wine Street when it's full on a Saturday night is 20,000 people, which is more or less the same as the Liberty Stadium as it was called. So you've got 20,000 people having a party. Yeah?
That's a lot of people.
So percentage-wise, you're going to have the odd scuffle. You're going to have the odd disagreement because some of those people are intoxicated as well. But percentage-wise, it's a very, very safe environment to be in. So I'd encourage all of your viewers, if they want a night out, there's so many offers now in Swansea. We're trying to get away from the drinking culture. There's a lot of live music. There's a lot of performances. There's a lot more food being served. So whereas going back 20, 30 years, it was what we used to call vertical drinking, where you couldn't sit down on a nice sofa and have a drink with your mates. The bars didn't want that. The bars and clubs wanted you to stand up.
Until you fell over.
Until you fell over and just drink because it's profit. Now, the mindset has changed. A lot of these bars and clubs want people to come out and enjoy their evening. You'll notice beer mats are beginning to resurface because about 15 years ago, bars didn't like beer mats going down. Because if you put your drink down, you weren't drinking it. So you'd have to hold it. And again, it's human nature. If the drink is in your hand, you're going to drink it quicker. Now they're reintroducing beer mats to encourage people to stop, have a discussion, have a chat, have a laugh, have a bit of fun, and then re-drink. So our whole mindset for our nighttime economy is evolving and improving.
Interesting. And of course, the price of beer now has been driven up, which means people are probably drinking less, I guess. But let me ask Ashton that, because
yes, exactly.
I don't know if you're a drinker, if you go down Wine Street at all.
So, I am 18, just put that out there, and most of my friends are students here. So, if you do go out on a night out, you do tend to go to the cheaper places anyway, and on the cheaper nights, which is Wednesday night in Swansea. So you see that prices on drinks are reduced quite significantly, and you've got certain clubs as well in Swansea, which will, on a Thursday night, I believe, Sin City, they have a really, really cheap night. But it's a student lifestyle as well. Not many people do have money, so you are tend to go on those nights, and then that's why you see on Saturday nights you see the older generation going out compared to a Wednesday where you'd have just 18 to 23-year-olds going out. So I think that also varies in comparison, but I haven't noticed with the price increase because of course I am so young. I can't compare it to how it was 10 years ago.
Okay, that's great. Thank you for telling us about that. I want to talk to Captain Beany. Yesterday we went out with Valentine Day roses,
Oh, it's amazing.
giving them out, and
Yeah.
we've got a little clip to show.
Welcome, Swansea! Happy St. Valentine's Day to you all!
Oh, it's Captain Beany, look.
Good afternoon, sir. Hello, Captain Beany here once again in Swansea City here. We got some darling little chuck on mate. Well done.
Jack Army.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, can you tell us your names first of all and where you're from?
I'm Dan from Bargasignan, well, Swansea.
Yes, that's
Yeah.
the way. And you know the relevance of today is it's Tuesday, the 14th of February 2023. That means only one thing. What is it?
It's Valentine's Day.
It's St. Valentine's Day.
Oh, what a cop. Well, you just read me as well. Rosebud from Captain Beany.
Captain
And yourself as well.
And
because
you, Captain Beany.
You're a perfect gentleman
Tony,
and lady.
you need one man.
And all I can say is, Captain Beany, happy St. Valentine's Day!
Jack Army signing
Chuck
out.
away! I think we might be a match made in heaven, by now. I think I found my tin of beans and my nickel bean sprouts. So all I want to wish you is happy Valentine's Day. I present you with a nice little rosebud
Thank you.
as an affection, all right?
Happy St. Valentine's Day.
Yeah, I've made a force go behind you. Well, we can't go out and about without anybody approaching Captain Beany, of course, of SwanTV. And this lady just tapped me on the shoulder and said, "Excuse me, who are you?" My name is Captain Beany, and of course your name is?
Asia.
And you know the relevance today, Tuesday, 4th of February 2023. It's St. Valentine's Day.
Valentine's Day.
Yeah, that's right.
amazing.
And because I've met such a beautiful young lady as yourself, and where are you from?
I'm from Mosinamoro.
Oh, I tell you what, how diversity it is here in Swansea. And I'm glad you are pleased to have met you, and it's only fitting for me to present you with a love bud
Oh, thank you so
on
much.
St. Valentine's.
Yes.
I hope you go on your merrily
Happy
way.
Valentine's Day, everyone.
This is what the world should be like, full of beans.
Let's talk now to Captain Beany about his eccentric club.
Yes, amazingly, as you well know, I'm a well-known charity fundraiser in Port Talbot over the span of half my life. And initially, of course, what gave me the inspiration to be this Captain Beany persona is by a chance encounter in a charity shop. And lo and behold, I came across this album cover, which defines Roger Daltrey laying in a bath of baked beans, holding a can of Heinz. And I thought, is it currently a record for somebody laying in a bath of baked beans? So I did my inquiries, and nobody thought of laying in a bath of baked beans for a long duration, see? So I had this half-baked idea, pardon the pun, of phoning around, and apparently nobody did. So way back in September 1986, before you were born, of course, my darling boy, I put it upon myself to lay in this bath of beans, and I just set a tentative record of about 100 hours, which is 4 days and 4 nights. And I did this in September of all things, you know, and I was actually freezing because I was a chilly bean, see, and hypothermia. And consequently, I created this world record, and it's still currently the world record for laying in the bath of beans after 36 years. And as Michael was saying about my eccentric club, well, what happened? I didn't realize I was penned eccentric. I just thought I was a flamboyant, you know, lunatic or anything. But I am glad to say that I attributed it to charity fundraising. Otherwise, I think I'd be locked up by now, you see. And all of a sudden, then, someone dared me to change my name by Deed Paul, or should I say Bean Paul.
And consequently, let's have a look. Yes, May 1991. I went to a solicitor. I said, excuse me, but I'm renaging my name from Barry Howard Kirk to Captain Beany. And as you well noticed, 1991 is quite a long time, and it's about 30 odd years. And he didn't charge me a bean, obviously. And so I paraded myself as this Captain Beany flamboyant superhero, you see, because what you see now is nothing compared to what my other alter ego is. And Captain Beany is here on a mission to help human beings for the benefit of mankind. And I go around all the schools, school fates, and you said about safety and all that kind of, so I'm integrated with the community. And all of a sudden then, someone said that magical word, eccentric. I think, am I eccentric? I didn't realise that. I don't. I think. So in, believe it or not, in 2009, first of its kind was the annual Eccentric Awards. And I went down to a posh part of London in Mayfair, my dear boy, in my superhero costume. And it was a panel of 3 experts on eccentricity. And there was 3 other candidates. And they had to just say party piece. So they did the 3 minutes of fame and everything until it came to me. And I said, Captain Beany, what makes you think you were eccentric? Well, I said, dear boys, I changed my name by deed poll, of course, laid a bath of baked beans. I've actually travelled abroad as Captain Beany, the superhero. And also, I've raised £100,000 for charity, you see. I think that clinched it then because the Eccentric Club basically loves the fact that their institution is charity-based anyway. So they announced the winners in reverse order, and lo and behold, they said, number 1, Eccentric Club member, first prize 2009. And so there you are, been there, done that, got the award. And to this day, as you will notice, I got a nice little notification to say I'm currently one of the founder members of this annual award. So I can walk around, you know, and if anybody says I'm a bit short of a baked bean of a can, I passed the audition. And that was it.
Now, your flat is a museum at the moment.
Yeah, bizarrely, I thought I'd pay homage to the humble baked bean. And I was collecting this massive baked bean cans and everything, much to the amusement to my mother, late mother, unfortunately. And I thought, well, I took over the flat, painted all walls orange, of course, like it had to be, and I just want to thank you for this lovely complimentary sofa you got here. I think it's very, very auspicious. I'm sitting here now with 2 human beings by here. And I just thought of this top of my head, I'm going to call the living room into the Baked Bean Museum of Excellence, you see. And it was duly opened in January 2009 by no other than Danny Wallace, who wrote a book called Yes Man and made into a film with Jim Carrey. And he came down to my home and he opened it, and he's currently the patron. And from that time, somebody said, a magical word again, TripAdvisor. So I thought, I'm going to open it to the public, you know. And since 2009, I've generated around about 1,200 people so far. They come from all over the country, in fact, all over the planet, I should imagine. They come down, look at me on TripAdvisor, number 1 of 14 things to do in Port Talbot. And I sign themselves in, and then I show them, lo and behold, my Heinz kitchen and my Branston bathroom, my dear boy. And then we go into the museum, and they look, oh my word, you know, and it's only a living room. It supersedes Markham Castle, the big grounds, and Aberafon Beach. And unfortunately, I don't know where you read about this in the paper now, I have to relinquish the Baked Bean Museum because I have to move out of my, well, it's a housing association flat. So I'm downgrading to a 1-bedroom bungalow. So currently, the Baked Bean Museum of Excellence is on eBay, or should I say eBean. And if you want a spare £5,000, Ashton, you can take it off my hands. All right, mate? There we are, look.
That's really interesting. Now, you're coming on the show regularly now to do something crazy in and around Swansea.
I'd be honest with you, because as I said to you, Michael, they all know me in Port Talbot. I mean, if I went around, nobody bats an eyelid, you know. What are you doing, Captain Beany? Oh, I'm going this, that, the other. But what I love about Swansea, like you said, you looked at me thinking, oh my God, this guy is strange. And I like that interaction, you know, like people come up to me, because I don't go to them. They come up to me and say, what are you doing it? And Michael and myself, we had a great day yesterday. The sun was, well, sunbeams were shining, you see. And people of all walks of life, you know, thinking what's happening by here. And as you well know, it was St. Valentine's Day, but to Captain Beany, it was St. Valentine's Day. You got it, Ashton, you got it, mate. And everybody was so full of beans and was handing out these little wooden orange tulips, whoever come our way, like, and everything. And I thought, you know, that's what I love, putting people's smiles on their faces. And like I said, it was all walks of life, you know, and that's what made my day, knowing that when I go home, thinking, I just met Captain Beany. Have a selfie with Captain Beany. Isn't it great, Michael, wasn't it?
It was absolutely fantastic. And
Beantastic, yeah.
it was beantastic. Listen, it's really good to have the three of you here on the show. And I just want to ask you, we live in Swansea. What do you think is the best thing about living here? Paul?
To me, because I like the outdoors, it's all the natural environment. So it's our beaches, it's our parks, it's our countryside. It's spoilt for choice.
You can get anywhere within 10 or 15 minutes, can't you?
Yeah, you can be in 10 minutes in the car, you're in the countryside, you're on the Gower, you're down the beaches. And I've always lived in Swansea, and in a way you sort of take it for granted until you go somewhere else. And it's you know, a big city where there's nowhere to go. So we're very, very fortunate and lucky in Swansea.
And Ashton, as a student?
So for me, I think it's the community more than anything. We see that loads of different communities who maybe wouldn't even see themselves with each other come together in a time of crisis. We saw during the pandemic, loads of small communities coming together, donating to the food banks. We see Safer Swansea now helping protect our community. We've got Mr. Beany next door. He is raising so much money for charity, and we have little groups then like Cocket Amateur who are putting on shows for Swansea. And what we need now is just everyone to come, because we've lost so many members throughout COVID, unfortunately. And this is our first show actually back since before COVID. So if you do want to get tickets, they're on the Taliesin website. And we are running for a week from the 28th of February, and it's a fantastic show. And it's just nice for the entire community of Swansea to just come and support live theatre, because it's been too long. We've all missed it. We've all missed being on the stage. So let's try and fill out our audiences.
That's great. In fact, I think a lot of people now have forgotten live theatre. They've seen so much television. It's time to get out and about. There's just no comparison. The magic of the theatre, it just takes you into another world. So, Captain Beany, Port Talbot man, what do you think of Swansea?
Well, let's put it this way. I'm sure Ashton can vouch for this. I'm a Jack Army. Jack Army supporter. Who are we, Jack Army? I love Swansea City anyway, the football team. But what I love about Swansea, apart from obviously people do recognise me from time to time, is I ingratiate the public with the Swansea 10K and Swansea half marathons, the annual races. And there's nothing gives me more pleasure than to run my feet off as a proverbial runner bean.
This has been the most interesting talk. You're making me laugh now.
It's a sublime to the ridiculous, isn't it?
But now it's time to wind up, and I'd like to thank Paul and Ashton and Captain Beany for being so good guests on our show. It's been a pleasure talking to all of you. And listen, Kipps, Taliesin Theatre, book your seats now. You've heard it from SwanTV. Thank you.